Dear learners, Namaskar. I am Dr. Chunnu Prasad and the topic of your social science lesson is peace and security. Let me tell you very briefly the objective of this lesson. The first objective is meaning of peace and security in varied context. The second one is traditional and new understanding of peace and security. Third objective is peace and security as necessary condition for development and democracy. Fourth one is approach and methods adopted by India to address the threat of peace and security. The fifth objective is steps taken by the government to deal with insurgency of militant groups, and the last one is India's contribution to international peace and security and its participation in United Nations. So, these are the broad objectives on which we will be discussing. Learners, you must be heard the term peace and security when there is some violent activity in a city or in any other area within a state. We are told that there is a threat to peace and security. If there is some upheaval within a country, it is said to be a threat to national peace and security. If the police force or the army is specially deployed in certain area, it is done to maintain peace and security. If there is war between nations or some terrorist activities in a nation, it is a threat to international peace and security. We are told that international organizations like United Nations are there to contribute to the maintenance of peace and security. These two words, peace and security, are also used separately, and all the religions of the world talks about peace, and individually we are concerned about peace of mind or peace in the family or the community. We also know about the worries of families regarding the security of girls and women when they move out of home. The use of these terms in different contexts and in different ways at times confuses us. Let us therefore understand various aspects of peace and security in individual, societal, national and international context. So, dear learners, let us understand the meaning of peace and security first through one story, which may help you to understand what exactly the peace means. So, stories like it goes like this. There was a king who offered a prize to the artist who would paint the best picture on peace. Many artists tried. The king looked at all the paintings and shortlisted two, so that he could finally select one as the best painting. One picture showed a calm lake as a perfect mirror for mountains all around it. Overhead was the blue sky with white clouds beautifully reflected on the lake. Everyone thought that it was a perfect picture of peace. The other picture also had mountains, but those were rugged and bare. Above was a stormy sky from which rain fell and in which lightning played. Down the side of the mountain, a huge foaming waterfall releasing water at a great force was also depicted, but behind the waterfall in a bush, a bird had built a nest and was feeding her babies in perfect peace. So, learners, which painting do you think won the prize? The king chose the second picture. Do you know why? The king stated the reason because peace does not mean the absence of noise, trouble or disturbances. Peace means to be in the midst of all this and still remain calm in your heart. So, learner, do you think that the painting selected by the king depict peace in the true sense of the term? Peace really does not mean a state of mind or a condition with complete absence of disturbances or conflict. In fact, complete absence of disturbances or conflicts in human world is impossible. So, learners, we are trying to understand peace in societal, national and international context, and not in the context where the humans do not exist. We may therefore define it as peace as a social and political condition that ensures development of individuals, society and nation. It is a state of harmony characterized by the existence of healthy relationship. It is a condition related to the social or to the working political order that serves true interest of all. In the context of intra-national and international relations, Peace is not merely the absence of war or conflict, but also the presence of socio-cultural and economic understanding and unity with happiness. Now, we will talk about the security. The word security also appears in our daily conversation, in newspaper or in official discourses. There are various aspects of security with ranges from individual, institutional, regional and national to international levels. All of us take various measures to secure our homes or areas where we live in. We know that individually security arrangement made for key governmental and other important institutions or certain regions that are under threat. We also hear about national and international security. These multiple usages of the word security indicates its varied meanings. In general terms, it means a secure condition or feeling free from fear or threats. It also means the safety of an individual, an institution, a region, a nation or the world. However, in its most basic sense, security implies freedom from extremely dangerous threat. It also related to threats that endanger core values like human rights. So, learners, it is important that after accepting the varied perceptions of both the words, it is evident that peace and security are inseparable. Combined together, it is a condition where individuals, institutions, regions, nations and the world move ahead without any threat. And in this condition, region or nations are generally more governed and respectful to human rights. Conflict not only generates threat and fear, but also hampers economic, social or political advancement. So, when we talk about peace and security, we mostly relate it to its traditional notion that has been focused since ages on the danger of military or armed conflicts or threats. And the source of danger has been a nation threatening to take or being suspected to take military action against the order. As a measure of ensuring peace and security, the cause of the threat of military action is sorted by or out by the concerned nation through a bilateral agreement or a long term treaty for not taking military action within each other, and the nation also take preventive measures by increasing their defense capabilities, deploying more armed force on borders. Some also adopt balance of power approach through entering into a treaty with other nations to take joint action in the case of military attack on any one of them. As we know that international organizations like United Nations have been created to save the humanity from the threat of war or armed conflicts, but the new or the non-traditional notion of peace and security is much broader and goes beyond military threats to include wide range of dangerous and threats to human existence. The new notion of peace and security includes not only regions and nations, but also individuals or communities and the humankind at large. This notion is primarily addressed to individuals. It is true that protection of people from foreign attacks is a necessary condition for peace and security, but it is not to be or not the be all and end all. In fact, peace and security is to be seen as the precondition to socio-economic development and to the maintenance of human dignity. The new notion of peace and security also includes freedom of individuals from hunger, freedom from wants, disease and epidemics, environmental degradation, exploitation and subhuman treatment. In this background, the new notion of peace and security is based on threats beyond military attacks, and these threats may be from terrorism, insurgency, genocide, denial of human rights, health epidemics, narcotics, trade and irrational use of natural resources. Now, learners will discuss on peace and security for democracy and development. There is a mutual relationship between democracy and development and peace and security. In the absence of peace and security, democracy cannot function and development cannot take place. It is necessary to have peace for holding of elections. The democratic institution cannot function if there is no peace, and citizens can participate in the process of decision making at different level when the peace prevails. peace is still more essential for development in various areas. No development activity is possible if there is disturbances, violence of war. On the other hand, peace cannot be achieved if or in the absence of democracy and development. It has been observed that democracies by and large do not go far or do not go for war. One can argue that regional peace has enhanced if democracy is prevalent in all the countries that constituted that region. Democracy is also better placed for eliminating conditions that generate public dissatisfaction. It is so because democratic system provides equal opportunity to all citizens to participate in the process of governance and decision making. Development also promotes peace. It is through development that nations can ensure social and economic progresses for the people and improve their quality of life. This ensures that people do not suffer from a sense of deprivation, which lead them to indulge in protest and violent activities. When development activities continue in all the countries of a region, every country ensures that the peace is not disturbed, otherwise development will suffer. Now, we will talk on the peace and security and the various approach adopted by India. Learners, like any other country in India, there is also peace and security has been one of the major challenges, and you must be reading in newspaper or getting information through radio and television and security in our country. The geographical position of India and its emergence as a global power make it vulnerable to external threats. India has not only faced wars with neighboring countries like China and Pakistan, but has also been facing with international terrorism. It has been experiencing internal threats for insurgency and separatist movement ever since independence. Just after 2 decades of its independence, India experienced Naxalite activities, which have now assumed alarming proportion. It is in this context that the approach for ensuring peace and security being evolving quite early, in fact during freedom movement itself. The approach has been reflected in the constitution as well. The approach, however, has been changing over the years according to the needs and requirements. The ideas and views about the approach to ensure peace and security began during freedom movement. The leadership clearly realized that the democratic system after independence can be functional only when a condition of peace and security is maintained. So, what is the peace and security in the constitution? We will discuss on this. The process of constitution framing was greatly influenced by the ideas that evolved during freedom movement, and the constitution therefore mentioned peace and security in the chapter on directive principles of state policy. The federal system and the establishment of rural and urban local government ensures that the power is not centralized, because centralization generates regional and local dissatisfaction that may be a threat to internal security. In a federal system, the decision in respect of socio-economic development are taken by the state government that are best placed to respond to all the hopes and aspirations of the people of that state. The local government also ensures the mass participation in the decision making for development and take care of the needs and requirements of all. All means all Indians. Now, Article 51 of the Constitution states the states shall endeavour to promote international peace and security, maintain just and honourable relation between nations, foster respects for international law and treaty, obligation in the dealing of organized peoples with one another, and encourage settlement of international disputes by arbitration. So, India therefore adopted a multi-pronged approach and methods to ensure peace and security. At the international level, it adopted a policy aimed at promotion of international peace and security. It extends support to all efforts being made at the global or regional level for peace, equitable economic development, promotion of human rights, and elimination of terrorism. At the national level, it is committed to ensure liberty, equality and social justice, secularism, equitable economic development and removal of social inequalities. it also provides equal opportunities to all its citizens to participate not only in election, but also in the decision making process at various levels. All this is done to ensure that no section of the society feels that it is being discriminated or its interests are being ignored, because it is this feeling of discrimination that gives birth to discontent and leads to protest and political violence, within which turn into major threats to peace and security. Now, what are the internal threats to peace and security? Learners, you may have observed or experienced that whenever there is an aggressive protest and demonstration or violent activities leading to loss of lives and property, it is a threat to peace and security, but a number of such occurrences and law and order problems which are locally managed by the police. In a democracy like ours, such protest demonstrations, strikes, bandhs and other agitations do take place to draw the attention of governments or concerned authorities towards specific demands and concerns. However, India has been experiencing various types of violent activities under the grave of terrorism or insurgency or Naxalite movement, which are more serious threat to peace and security. Now, we will discuss one by one. First, we will take terrorism. Terrorism has been one of the greatest threat to peace and security in our country. Have you not been shocked by this kind of terrorist attacks? In several cities that have occurred almost at regular intervals in recent past, in fact, such activities have been happening since independence in various parts of the country. However, in general terms and in the context of India, we may define terrorism as essentially a criminal act to inflict dramatic and deadly injury on civilians and to create an atmosphere of fear, generally for a political or ideological purposes. Terrorism is a criminal act, but it is more than mere criminality. These acts are in any circumstances unjustifiable, whatever the consideration of a political, philosophical, ideological, racial, ethnic and religious or any other nature that may be invoked to justify them. We have experienced the terrorist activities, bomb blast or do indiscriminate firings at the crowded public places, killing and injuring hundreds of innocent people. They also hijack planes and kill innocent passengers, compelling the government to accept their demands, like releasing other terrorists who were captured and kept in jails. And this act also destroy public and private properties. They commit this heinous act to create an environment of terror, to intimidate people and the government. Now, we will talk on insurgency. So, as you know that insurgency is an armed rebellion against a constituted authority. The government, even since independence, India has experienced violence related to insurgent movements. Broadly, they can be divided into movement with political motives and movement for social and economic justice. The most prominent militant groups are violent extremist separatists operating in Jammu and Kashmir and different militant groups in India's northeastern states. Although all the members of these groups are Indians, these groups receive support from neighboring countries. So, whereas these militant movements are going on because the groups involved in it are dissatisfied with their present state of affairs. And there are certain groups, especially in Jammu and Kashmir and Assam, that have political agenda and they are fighting for secession from the country, and these groups have active support from the neighboring countries and even certain international terrorist groups. The another important threat to India is Naxalite movement, and the Naxalite movement has been a cause of great concern because of different kind of complexities. It began in a village of West Bengal, but has now spread over in about 125 districts in 12 states, influencing the lives of lakhs of people. The Naxalite quite often attack public property, the government officials, police and paramilitary forces and the people whom they consider their enemies. The Naxals are also against the development inside the forest area. The government want to build pakka roads inside the villages and forest, but the Naxals discourage any development work in the area. They know that once the development takes place, then perhaps they may lose their support of the people. Therefore, they have been misguiding the innocent people that the government wants to take away their mineral wealth and their forests. Unfortunately, the basic cause of the emergence and spread of this movement has been the discontent among certain sections of the society. So, what are the various strategies of the government to tackle the issues? The government of India has been employing strategies and methods to deal with terrorism, insurgency and Naxalite movement. It has been supporting efforts of all nations to fight any terrorist attack takes place diplomatically. It is trying to put international pressure on Pakistan and other neighboring countries to extend their active cooperation in ensuring that the support of such terrorist group does not come from them. As regards the insurgency activities aimed at political objectives, and the government of India is trying to tackle it diplomatically. India has entered into a treaty with Myanmar and Bangladesh to restrain the help and support coming to insurgent movement from those countries. It is also trying to mount international pressure on Pakistan to do the same. So, in respect of the Naxalite movement, in the initial phase, the state government treated it as a law and order problem, but it was realized that it is a more serious issue having deep socio-economic dimensions. Efforts are being made to accelerate the pace of development in those areas and to bring the youth into the mainstreams. Now, India and the international peace and security will try to understand India and the international peace and the security. India has been equally concerned with international peace and security. It is essential for its progress. Like any other nation, India also has its foreign policy rooted in the national interest. India has been pursuing a foreign policy in which peace and security at the international level and especially in our neighborhood and in our region as a whole has been a key concern. In fact, right from the independence, the basic objective of Indian foreign policy have been maintenance of freedom in policy formulation, promotion of international peace and security, good relationship with other nations and especially with our neighbors, support to the United Nations, disarmament, opposition to colonialism, imperialism and racism, and the cooperation among developing nations. So, to attain this objective, the foreign policy that India has been pursuing constantly is known as the policy of non-alignment. Through or though there have been changes in it to keep it relevant in the context of changes on the international scene. Now, what is the policy of non-alignment? Non-alignment has been regarded as the most important feature of India's foreign policy. India led the process of evolution of the concept of non-alignment during the period when the world was divided between two camps: Western nations led by the United States of America constituting the one camp and the communist nation led by the Soviet Union constituting the other, and it was known as period of Cold War between the two camps. Cold War was intense rivalry between USA and Soviet Union without fighting a direct war to attract allies in Africa, Asia and Latin America. It started soon after the Second World War and continued for 45 years, and these two big countries become two opposition poles known as East and West, and the world politics revolved around these two poles. In fact, the world became bipolar. Non-alignment aimed at maintaining national independence in foreign affairs by not joining any of the two military alliances formed by the USA and Soviet Union. Non-alignment was neither neutrality nor non-involvement nor isolationism. It was a dynamic concept which meant not committing to any military bloc, but taking an independent stand on international issues according to the merits of each other or each case. Now, the policy of non-alignment won many supporters in the developing countries as it provides an opportunity to them for protecting their sovereignty as also retaining their freedom of action during the tension-ridden Cold War period. Now, India is the prime architect of non-alignment and as one of the leading member of the non-aligned movement has taken an active path in its growth. Now, we will discuss on the support to United Nations. India has always viewed United Nations as a vehicle for peace and security and for peaceful change in world politics. Being one of the 51 original or founding members of the United Nations, India has been extending all out support in its efforts for international peace and security and disarmament. India expects that the United Nations must involve countries to moderate their difficulties or differences through talks or negotiations. Moreover, India has advocated active role for United Nations in development effort of the developing countries. It has pleaded for a common united front of these countries in the United Nations. It believes that the non-aligned world, by virtue of its massive member, could play a constructive and meaningful role in the United Nations by stopping the superpowers from using this world body for their own interest. Security Council, an important organ of the United Nations, plays a key role in the maintenance of peace or international peace and security. That is why a process of its reforms has been initiated, and therefore, it is possibility of expanding its permanent membership, and India has a strong case for becoming a permanent member in the Security Council. So, dear learners, to sum up this lesson at the end, we can say that peace and security is very important for an individual, a society, a nation and the world. It is a condition where individuals, institutions, regions, nation and the world move ahead without any threat. It is a state of harmony characterized by the existence of healthy interpersonal or intergroup or interregional or interstate or international relationship, prosperity in matters of social or economic welfare, the establishment of equality and a working political order that serves the true interest of all. In the context of intra-national and international relations, peace is not merely the absence of war or conflict, but also the presence of socio-cultural and economic understanding and unity. There is a sense of tolerance in relation for the realization of true peace. In general terms, security means a secure condition or feeling untroubled by danger or fear. It also means the safety of an individual, an institution, a region, a nation or the world. However, in its most basic sense, security implies freedom from extremely dangerous threat. It also relates to threat that endanger core values like human rights. In its traditional notion, peace and security has been focused since ages on the danger of military or armed conflict or threats. But the new notion is focused on human peace and security or global peace and security. This is primarily addressed to individuals and is to be seen as enabler, as the precondition to socio-economic development and to the maintenance of human dignity. Peace and security is an essential condition for democracy and development. In fact, there is a mutual relationship between democracy and development and peace and security. Now, in the absence of peace and security, democracy cannot function and development cannot take place. On the other hand, peace cannot be achieved in the absence of democracy and development. The approach and methods for ensuring peace and security began evolving in India quite early, in fact during freedom movement itself, and the approach has been reflecting in the constitution also. Now, the approach however has been changing over the years according to the needs and requirements. India has been experiencing various types of violent activities under the grave of terrorism or insurgency or Naxalite movement, which are more serious threat to peace and security. And the government of India has been employing strategies and methods to deal with terrorism, insurgency and Naxalite movements. India has been concerned with international peace and security, and the leadership of the freedom movement announced that India would promote the policy of international peace because it would be essential for the socio-economic development. Now, non-alignment has been regarded as the most important feature of India's foreign policy. India led the process of evolution of the concept of non-alignment during the period when the world was divided between two camps. Now, the non-aligned movement is providing all members states, regardless of size and importance, an opportunity to participate in global decision making and world politics. India has been extending all out support to United Nations in its peacekeeping operation and other endeavor like disarmament. Moreover, India has advocated active role for United Nations in development effort of the developing countries. Since India has emerged as the fastest growing economy and also because of the leadership it has provided at all international forums. Its contribution to United Nations peacekeeping and its track record in espousing the cause of the developing world, India has a strong case for becoming a permanent member in the Security Council. Thank you.